Pissed off trucker just gave race-baiting Sharpton what he deserves after seeing what he stole. Sometimes crooks and con men do their dirty work in silence and concealment, and this makes it easier to get away with the nastiness that they engage in. However, sometimes they get so confident with their own ability to rip people off that they get sloppy and make mistakes. If that mistake takes the form of ripping off someone with a strong constitution and perseverance that won't let them quit, that con man just might get what he deserves. This was the case when Al Sharpton ripped off the wrong trucker. This disgrace to America is apparently still doing damage, despite his ripped and tattered reputation. This preacher has pretty much just dissolved into a political hate-spewing racism peddler, and yet somehow not everyone is completely ignoring him yet. Even though his cries of racism are the only thing that is making people pause to make sure they're not dismissing him too quickly, the Reverend is still pushing his luck. This self-important crazy person is apparently branching out into meditation and getting his payments up front. One less than fortunate trucker came to the famous preacher, asking for help with a sticky situation he was in with a corporation. Sharpton said he would help, but only if the trucker paid in advance, which he did. That turned out to be a bad move on his part, since Sharpton now claims to never have met his former client. USA Politics Today has more on this less than surprising story. The Reverend Al Sharpton is still up to his old traps, misleading cash from suckers sufficiently absurd to put their trust in him. Obviously, we as a whole recall that him from his time as a race baiter for a benefit, back amid past times worth remembering of Obama's People Group Coordinator administration. Sharpton is back in the news for defrauding a man who tragically asked him for offer assistance. The Arizona trucker, Reggie Anders Sr., is currently out of cash, to the tune of about $16,000 worth, which he gave over to Sharpton. Anders requested that Sharpton help him settle a discrimination dispute with Verizon that goes back to 2009, for which Sharpton requested a cold hard cash installment before he would do anything. Be that as it may, as per Anders, Sharpton never finished any of his guarantees. New York Post reports, "He's a crook, he's a fraud, and that's all he is," complains Reggie Anders Sr., who sought out the Reverend Al Sharpton for help resolving a 2009 discrimination dispute with Verizon. He did not do anything he promised, Anders said Saturday by phone from Mesa, Arizona. Absolutely nothing. Anders reached out to Sharpton early last year on the advice of his own minister, the Reverend David Wade of Phoenix. Wade knew Franklin Richards, the chairman of Sharpton's National Action Network, and set up a meeting. Anders and his pastor flew east for the sit-down at non-headquarters in Harlem in March 2015. Anders had no idea Sharpton would take his money and walk. "I thought he was an honest guy," Anders said of meeting Sharpton. "I thought he would do what he said he would do." Sharpton promised to go to bat for him against Verizon, a trucking client of Anders he had accused of discrimination and breach of contract in a federal suit that was dismissed in 2014. Sharpton would set up mediation meetings and, if need be, put the matter to the media and even blast the telecom giant on his weekly radio broadcast, according to Anders' lawsuit, filed Friday in Manhattan federal court. All Anders had to do was hand over $16,000. Sharpton was very clear about how he wished to be paid, Anders told the Post. He wanted cash only. He did not say why, but the Rev was not clear at all about one thing, that Verizon and other major corporations had been paying Sharpton in non-thousands of dollars in donations. Anders said he was shocked to read a Post exclusive in August 2015 about how companies paid Sharpton what amounted to protection money, and companies that did not donate, such as GM, were threatened with bad press or non-promoted boycotts. "I had no idea that he was in bed with Verizon," Anders told the Post. When Anders called to ask about the inaction on his case, and about the Post expose, Sharpton went ballistic, the trucker said. Anders' federal suit seeks $1.75 million in damages from Sharpton and Verizon for conspiring against him. Asked about Anders on Saturday, Sharpton said, "Who? I have no idea what you're talking about." On the off chance that Anders had asked anybody other than those individuals who are all-star looked at over Sharpton's big-name status, they would have revealed to him what a slimeball Sharpton truly is. Hopefully that Anders presses each and every dime out of that $1.75 mill he's requesting. "In the event that you ask me," Sharpton would get off simple, "sometimes we have to really go out of our way to convince the general public that someone is a scumbag, and sometimes they do all the work for us." In the case of Reverend Sharpton, the world may have wanted to believe that anyone who calls themselves a preacher would have a little more respect for his fellow man in the law, but no, apparently once a creepy loser, are always a creepy loser. Perhaps paying out $1.75 mill will make this slimy bottom feeder think twice about taking a hard-working man to the cleaners when they trust him for help.